Missions to Mars, driverless cars, AI chatbots. Feels like we're already living in the future. Well, Robinhood is built for the future of trading. Robinhood's intuitive design makes trading seamless. Spot opportunities and take control of your trades with tools like screeners, simulated returns, and strategy builder. On Robinhood, traders have access to hundreds of popular stocks and ETFs 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you can keep up with today's fast-paced markets. You can now even trade stocks and crypto all in one place with the new desktop platform, Robinhood Legend. The future of trading is fast, powerful, and precise. Experience it now on Robinhood. Investing is risky. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer. Trading during extended hours involves additional risks. Cryptocurrency services are offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Partial Breakaway Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life.
Episode 85 of the Partial Breakaway Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm Junior. To my right is Nick, and to his right is Vince.
To the right, everybody.
Guys, special guest on this episode.
Oh, are you going to spoil it right away?
Maybe.
Talk to me about it.
All right, guys.
Who do we have on?
The official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN, StarCasting host, StarCasting Remarks host, Ryan, to talk Post-Mortem of the Dallas Stars, which has a lot of talking points, to say the least.
Especially after today's news.
There's quite a bit of news around the Dallas Stars today, so
wow.
we were very lucky to be able to get a guest from THPN. And that guest is Ryan from the StarCastic podcast. Furthermore, episode 85, guys, that's the Jake Sanderson of episodes.
You did your homework, didn't you? You Googled it?
You
Googled it?
Do you
Matthew
want one?
Perreault of Washington, when he played for Washington, was number 85 as well.
Oh, was he?
I'm not even going to try.
I have one, but I'm not sure.
I had to look it up because 85 is not a number you see very often. But Jake Sanderson, I mean, we should have known
I'll be ready
right?
for 86. I'll be ready for 86.
Yeah, okay. You're ready from now. Guys, today we're not only going to talk about Post-Mortem for Dallas, we're going to be talking about the Post-Mortem for Carolina as well. And we're going to go through the news and notes in our very popular segment called
The Odd Man Rush.
Thank you very much for that. And if we're going to talk about Odd Man Rush, I mean, we have to talk about...
Go. What do we talk about?
Don't stab your players in the back. Like the board, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? We have to talk about this with Kyle coming up, but geez, like...
Forgot about these today.
You're either a team or you're a team.
Odd Man Rush.
You're a team.
All right, lead us in, Nick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am the host for the Odd Man Rush today, and we will be taking the news and notes and trends from the NHL and turning them into 30 second takes, which usually last 3 freaking minutes because these two to my left and to my right do not know how to keep things short.
Oh, we're keeping it short today. Go.
All right, well, let's start with the... I'm not doing this. No, not this one. And no, not this one. Let's go and do... Lane Lambert is the new coach of the Seattle Kraken. Guys, Seattle is taking Lane Lambert out of Toronto, and he was the assistant for Toronto in last season. Mm-hmm. What do we think about Lane Lambert in Seattle? Is it fantasy relevant at all? I think it is, but I'll tell you why after.
I'll give you two thoughts. One, I'm glad they didn't recycle a coach. Like, you know, the coaches like the Quenvilles and I'm glad they went for someone who was never head coach. They went out of the box to get it.
He was a head coach. The Islanders.
But it was not a very good Islanders team, and he didn't have a lot of success.
I'm just hoping that with Lane Lambert, he changes the landscape of the Seattle Kraken, meaning that we don't talk to them always about a bunch of second liners and third line players. And
Well, he's not the GM.
no, but he still can get a bit like he can get more out of his players than like with a system you can get more out of your Berniers, out of your Shane Wrights, out of your. So hopefully he can turn that into something for Seattle.
Go, Junior.
Yeah, not much to add. In his first season with the Islanders, he made the playoffs and lost in the first round to the Carolina Hurricanes. So, it was a good start. He was above 500 technically before he got fired. I mean, if you count overtime losses, he wasn't. But
It's a second chance.
it's a
He's been
second
an assistant
chance.
for
He's
a very
learned a
long
lot
time.
under Berube too. I'm sure this year. So
Well, let's hope he learned a little bit of offense because Lane Lambert was a very defensive coach. Defense first, and that scares me a little bit for fantasy hockey. So I wanted to throw that out there because we don't know exactly what his new coaching style will be, but he's known as a defensive mind. So we'll see from there. Talking about Toronto, because obviously you just had to bring it back to Toronto. Trey Living comes out, and some of the biggest news that we've heard in a very long time is that he states in his presser at the end of the season that Toronto needs to change their DNA. What does that mean? Junior, I'll start with Junior this time just because I started with you last time. What does that mean exactly, and what are you expecting the changes to be in Toronto moving forward?
I think, first of all, what it means is just team concept. I think a lot of it is about point production. A lot of it is about their stars. Their core is very offensively skilled. Not necessarily. I mean, they're offensively skilled, but at the same time, they're also the leaders of this team, and they've led them nowhere essentially up to now. So I think the DNA here is just a question, I think, of maturity and leadership, and I think that's what he's implying. And Marner and Tavares possibly leaving whoever they fill those holes with is what the DNA he's talking about will be.
So you're talking. Okay, well, now you just said two very different things here. So I just want to clarify. Are you saying that the roster is going to change in order to be more a Berube style? Or are you saying the current players need to change the way they play to be more Berube style? Or is it a mixture of both?
I think you'd be insane to think that Matthews, Nylander, and these guys would change. They've been there long enough, and we've seen that they haven't changed. I mean, Matthews has progressed as an all-around player, but in terms of his leadership and maturity of guiding this team, it doesn't seem like it's quite there, right? And I think Marner also had something to do with that. And look, they stripped away the captaincy from Tavares, so they didn't think he was capable of doing it either. So I think who you replace those two guys with will tell you a lot of what this DNA is that Tree Living is talking about.
Yeah, listen, to me, this is just a goodbye message to Marner. I think if he wants to change the DNA, he can't re-sign Marner. If you're re-signing Marner, you're going right back to where you were in the past 7 years. So to me, I think this is an au revoir to Marner. I think this is an au revoir to Tavares if he doesn't take a team-friendly contract. I'm just afraid which players they're gonna bring in, and like we've watched enough hockey and enough free UFA free agency that there's a lot of mistakes done on that day. So I'm just hoping that they're not gonna start overpaying some of these guys to change their DNA with that.
The Bennett's and the Marchands.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think when he speaks about changing of DNA, I think it does have to do with new players coming in. I think they're going to have no choice. I know that Nick Robertson's already on the way out. They've already mentioned that he's on the block. He's ready for trade. They're looking for a trade. Marner, I don't think there's interest from Marner, to be honest with you.
No, not
I think
at
they're gonna touch base and just to pretend at
Due diligence.
negotiating a contract, but I don't think that they're gonna actually go that route. And I don't think he wants to. I think Marner wants to go somewhere quieter, less spotlight on him, and just different scenery, because I think it's time for him.
The most they're going to do with Marner is do a trade and sign so Marner could get his 8 years instead of 7 years.
I don't think he cares about that.
If they get a second round pick over it, why not?
No, it's not them. I don't think he wants it.
He's not going to help them.
You don't think
Why?
Marner wants 8 years instead of 7?
No. Why? so far what he's been doing, and if you've seen what Matthews has been doing and Marner has been doing, and a lot of the young free agents nowadays, they go ahead and they ask for shorter term because the cap keeps going up. So that means that I'm going to keep getting raises. Why sign 8 years and lock myself into a $12 million contract when in 3 years from now I could renegotiate a $15 million contract, right? And that's what they're banking on. They're betting on themselves, and it's actually very smart money wise. So I think that's the way he goes.
I think Ekblad. Look for Ekblad.
Ekblad's a nice.
That would be a nice fit.
I think
nice fit.
That's one fit.
All right. A quarter of the Sabres team, I would say half the Sabres team, is unhappy with the team direction because Buffalo sucks. And they've sucked for a very long time. And that's not, I'm talking to you, Buffalo fans. It's not because I don't like Buffalo. I actually love some of the players that you guys have. But the team direction seems to be not sitting very well with JJ Peterka, with Tuck, with Owen Power, among others. And then they go and hire Kakalainen, who hasn't had much success either. He's like a middle-of-the-pack GM who had struggling teams and did make a playoff appearance a couple of times where they beat Tampa Bay, which is a huge accomplishment. And they beat Toronto, which is accomplishment at the time because they were a very young Toronto team, don't forget. But what are we looking at here? I know that JJ Peterka is looking for a possible change of scenery, and they've been chopping him. So, do we think that there's a mass exodus in Buffalo, or
let's say if Toronto's talking about changing DNA, I think Buffalo has to be the first team to change their DNA after all these years. The problem with Buffalo, which is well known, is that their owner's a football guy. The
Bills come first.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
His first priority is the Bills and always will be the Bills. And I think now players are starting to feel that and don't want to be part of a situation like that. So the Sabres, if there's someone that has to change their, like we were talking about Toronto, I mean, they have to change their DNA. I honestly do not think their GM is doing anything good for that team.
Yeah, well, I think that's why they hired Kakalainen as an advisor to the GM.
Yeah, but that's like
they want to get some more opinions in there.
That's
and
like
more thoughts.
Kakalainen hiring Babcock as a coach for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I mean,
I don't think you're doing the right move by hiring him as an advisor.
They brought in Eric Stahl as maybe a player aspect, like a counseling
advisor.
Role or advising role.
Yeah, consultant.
I agree with Vince. I mean, there's a big DNA question here. Individual players, we all like them, right?
Was DNA going to be the theme of this episode?
Maybe.
Jeez, we're repeating that word a lot.
But it's post-mortem. It's got to be someone's DNA. I know. Like, so individually, like you said, we like them, but as a team, they don't quite get it. So there's going to be changes in Buffalo for sure.
I'm very curious to see where JJ Peterka lands because that would be an amazing player for
Next.
the Habs.
The Rangers?
You don't talk
Is it the Rangers?
Ooh, I like that. Darsh confirms Patrick Roy is coming back as head coach in the Island. And I'm going to just throw this in there together. The New York Islanders sign Palmieri 2 times 4.75. And they go ahead and they sign Boqvist for 1 times 850. All of those were actually things that were pre-negotiated by Lou Lamoriello. Because the ghost of Lou Lamoriello is still on this team, signing players, even though Matthew Darsh is there.
Did you see what he did? He extended his son's contract before he was let go.
Yeah, it's a little dirty American thing.
3-year contract even.
But there's in
Palmieri, you guys draftable in deep leagues?
No.
Or is a waiver candidate?
Waiver
wire,
probably.
yeah.
Like Palmieri was actually a key part of that team, especially when Duclair didn't pan out. Sorry, just catching my breath.
Like you ran a marathon or something.
You talk too much.
I do talk too much. But he's 34 years old, right? So a 2-year deal brings him to 36. He had 48 points this year, 54 points the year before that. What's really key is that he actually played all 82 games this year and all 82 games last year. So, I mean, as a third liner, like maybe second line player, on the power play, he still has some.
Listen, what we're looking at in
20 power play points the year before, and only 9 this year.
What we're looking at the island right now is Matthew Dasha just getting rid of all the Lou guys, all the Lou Lamar, even in the AHL he let go of everybody in the AHL.
Oh, you mean the assistant coaches?
The assistant coaches, because the assistant coaches, remember, weren't Roy's choice. Usually your coach brings in the assistants he wants to work with. These were loose guys, and Roy just got hired as a coach. And like I don't know which podcast said it, but all their AHL staff also got let go because they're all Lou Lamoriello guys. So I think Darsh is just cleaning house and bringing in guys that he has confidence with and he knows he could work with.
Guys, another team that we're looking at here is the Philadelphia Flyers. They signed Tyson Forrester to a 2-year, $3.75. Forrester was playing top line, if I remember correctly, on the right wing. 23 years of age, played 81 games this year, 44-point pace. Guys, do we have any idea if Tyson Forrester is somebody that is draftable? I know in Dynasty he's probably draftable. He's very young still. But are we seeing what's his upside for the following year and further?
Well, 25 goals is nothing to shy about. So I think he definitely is draftable, and it was 25 goals in the John Tortorella system.
But you didn't say that about the previous guy that we just spoke about. Palmieri had 25 goals.
Yeah, but he's 35. This guy's 24.
Okay,
23.
so you're saying upside?
Yeah, upside, meaning that the system is going to change.
In a Dynasty League.
In a Dynasty League, for sure, he's on your team. You keep him. He only has upside to go with. But yeah, I thought this year was going to be a better breakout year. But I mean, there's nothing to sneeze on. 25 goals in 81 games. But like you said, he had his opportunity in the first line, but then he was thrown to the fourth line, then third line. You know how Torch likes to play with his players. So, but I think it's a fair contract for him. I think he knows he has more in the tank, so he didn't want to commit long term. Like you were saying before, he'd rather have a bridge and then try to hit it big within 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, the coach there now is going to be Tocchet, so we'll see how Tocchet deploys him.
Yeah, he's only played just under 17 minutes a game. So with the changes, and don't forget, they traded Frost and Farabee, so that created space for him too. I think there could be an uptick in points for sure.
Nice. All right. Let's move on to another signing, but this guy is an old guy again. And he's so old that signing him to 6 years actually brings him to the age of 39, if I'm not mistaken. 2.33 AAV for Yanni Gourde in Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay is... okay, first, fantasy relevant, yay or nay?
Nay.
All right. There you go. Next, Marcus Johansson signs a 1-year extension with the Wild for $800K. Fantasy relevant, yay or nay?
Nay. Listen, these are depth guys that on cheap contracts that Tampa Bay needs as fourth liners, third liners. That's all there is.
Johansson signed with Minnesota.
Yeah.
What did I say?
No, I said Tampa.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Minnesota, yeah. All right. Johansson. Here's another one that could possibly sign soon. Jonathan Taves trying to make a comeback to the NHL. Fantasy relevant, yay or nay?
He's how old now?
I think he's 38.
I think you're way too old on him.
I'm way too what?
I think he's way too old.
Jonathan Taves is 37. He's born April 29th.
Perfect. So 37.
37.
So not way too old. Just
a touch.
Fantasy. Yeah, 37 hasn't played in 4 years, 3 years. Listen, I think he'd be the most he'll be is a waiver wire pickup if he's fantasy relevant.
Yeah, it depends how healthy he is, where he goes. Context is a big factor here. So I'm just happy he's coming back and he can end his career on a healthy level. You know, like playing. He can end it on his terms, hopefully.
So, if we're looking at the amount of teams that are looking for second line centers, Jonathan Taves, I don't know if he actually is that anymore, right? I mean, in his last game, in his last season, in 2022-2023 for the Blackhawks, he had 53 games played, 43 points total. Pretty even split, 15 goals, 16 assists. So that's 31 points, actually. My math is absolutely horrendous.
He's tired, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
am tired, but like, I just don't see him as a second line center. Like, I think that if you bring him in, you're bringing him as a depth center, maybe third, fourth line. Try to like have a last hurrah, bring some leadership into the team.
I can see him as a depth center on a team like the Leafs. I think he's born in Winnipeg, and Lowry has hip surgery, so he's out for a while.
Jonathan Taves would be a nice
That would
replacement
be a
there.
nice fit there on that third line. There's a few options available for him for sure. I think Toronto and Winnipeg would be great fits.
But nay, fantasy relevance?
Nay.
Nay. All right, guys. Utah Mammoth, officially the Mammoth now, sign Daniel Butt and Dmitry Simashev to ELC contracts. This is very important because both of those guys were actually high draft picks, and look at their size.
6'6" and 6'9".
6'9".
Simashev, yeah, I think so.
He's 6'9". I thought he was 6'7".
Let me check.
He is 6'4", Simashev.
Okay, yeah, not 6'9". I mean, what is this?
thinking about someone
Andre the
else.
Giant?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Luka Madulin is one of the tallest people that I know. Anyways,
Listen, they're high first-round draft picks that were questionable when they got drafted by the Arizona Coyotes. So we'll see. I mean, Utah has nothing. Simashev is a big boy. 6'4", Daniel Butt. But he's a centerman. No, he's left wing.
kind of
Big
complements
body.
like a Clayton Keller, like who's a little bit of a smaller player. I think he's 5'11",
Yeah.
Clayton Keller. Even what's his name, Cooley.
Exactly,
on the
center
smaller
back, exactly.
side.
But also the good thing is they've been playing with man. They both play in the KHL. So I mean, like Butt got 28 points in 54 games with the Locomotive. So it'll be interesting. I think Utah this year are gonna make that push, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they'll be one of the teams that goes after Marner. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah, I think that you see them more as depth players than actually point producers from a fantasy perspective. I don't think we should be expecting much.
Okay, middle six production.
Middle
for Butt,
six,
maybe.
yeah.
Simashev, middle pairing.
Second pairing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Ring that bell, sir. Colorado signs Nabokov to 3-year ELC, but loans him back to the KHL for next season, burning a year off of the ELC. That's a pretty cool move, actually, by Colorado, because I do think that Nabokov is their future. I think he's probably already better than Blackwood, but that's just me because I own him in a league. So
I think
I'm
after
kind of really high on him.
I think after the playoffs, Colorado said we need to secure this, so they're not too confident in Blackwood. So they have
You think
their
so?
yeah.
I don't know about that.
They
I
have
think
their backup plan. That's for sure.
Well, I think you definitely needed to have goaltending depth in your system, regardless if Blackwood didn't perform well or did perform well. Regardless, you needed depth. So Nabokov is the next up and coming, and I think he's going to be one of the best goalies in a few years from now. But I'm not expecting anything from him for the next couple of years.
In the KHL, in 49 games played, he had a 2.2 goals against average, 923 save percentage. In the KHL, that's huge. And the year before, 215 save goals against average. The year before that, 1.93. So elite numbers in a men's league in the KHL for a young guy. So it looks very promising for Nabokov.
And that does it for our odd man rush. I should have previewed the next series, but maybe we'll do that later.
Odd Man Rush.
The fastest game on the ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slapshot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. New to betting on the Stanley Cup playoffs? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team to win, lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. Guys, the draft is coming up, and I'm really excited for the draft. And we all know that Misa maybe is going in the top 2 picks, and we're talking about the possibility of Schaefer going in the top 2 picks. But my real question is, who's going to be third? Well, in DraftKings, you could actually go ahead and bet who Chicago's going to pick with the third pick. Frondell is a plus 200, Higgins is a plus 250, and Desnoyers is a plus 400. So that's my pick, actually. Desnoyers, oh my God, I can't even say it, as a plus 400. DraftKings does have that bet. Here's the kicker. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets if their wager hits. That's right. Turn $5 into a playoff payout. All right. On to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the partial breakaway battle royale playoff pool.
Glorious. No, I won't give in till I'm victorious.
All right. Go ahead, Junior.
All right, so just to update the standings, we have co-host Nick here leading the rear with 43.4 points. Listener Umbi is in third with 55.8. Listener Tino P in second place with 59.2. And listener Rooks with a 10.3 lead. 69.5 points is in first place. And she still has about she has about 5 Edmonton players. Tino, which is in second place, had some Carolina players that he loses. So
Good.
It's listener Rook's championship to lose.
Yes.
Now her players just need to show up.
Okay, so let's just do a little preview here. I know this is not part of the segment, but let's do just a little preview. What do we think about the finals? Edmonton versus Florida. Who's going to win? What are we expecting as the winometer?
Listen, it's to me the series is 50-50. I'm pushing Edmonton's way. Edmonton made it close last year and they had no depth, and now this playoffs, it's all about their depth coming up and presenting itself and playing out. So I mean, we haven't had a ridiculous game from a Draisaitl or McDavid in this playoff. Like last year, you knew it was McDavid, Draisaitl. This year, you have the Connor Browns, you have the Evander Kane, you have the Corey Perry, the supporting staff that's really getting there. The biggest question is going to be goaltending for Edmonton. Can Stuart Skinner keep it up?
I'm leading Edmonton. I don't think McDavid is going to lose 2 consecutive Stanley Cup finals.
Hard to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl.
And Crosby lost the first one, the next to Detroit, the next year rematch, and he won his first Stanley Cup. I think there's just something about losing when you're a generational talent like McDavid that you're not going to let it happen twice.
Did you hear Paul Maurice's press conference?
I'm starting to think he talks a little too much.
He talks way too much. Some of the things he says
I
are
like his
great
quotes, but he talks too much.
But imagine how many stupid things you have to say in the world in order to get one good quote. He just seems to be one of those stupid people. Anyways, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong.
What's your take?
Look, Florida showed another gear when they played against Toronto. They showed another gear when they played against Carolina. I don't think this team is done showing gears. Like, they could pick it up again against Edmonton. I'm really hoping for a long series and a fun series to watch. Hard to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl. That's what I'm going to say. They're the number 1 and number 2 players in the entire league, and then comes McKinnon, and then comes other players. So, 2 of them on the same team is...
Yeah,
and they're rested because they had injuries and they didn't play for a couple of weeks. So
Well,
but that goes for Florida also.
That's kind of the nice thing.
Yeah.
For having a little break here. Yes, it's for sponsorship money, of course, but it's also to rest the players and make sure that they're ready, give whatever they have for the final.
And now for our NHL Round 3 Post-Mortem, I have the perfect song for these 2 teams.
I'm a loser. I'm a loser.
I don't know how much you could really tell a round 3 team being a loser.
Hey,
If you ain't first,
you ain't what?
Oh,
we have it here.
You
You ain't
just
first.
ruined that. You just ruined
Team, you ain't first, you're last.
There we go.
All right.
All right. So before we get our guest on, Ryan from StarCasting
StarCasting Remarks.
We'll talk about the other team that got eliminated, which is the Carolina Hurricanes. So Junior and Nick, Carolina Hurricanes. We have so much to say about them. I'm so glad they signed Kakanyemi to a 6-year deal. But listen, okay, we'll start with Junior. Over and underachievers for this team.
I'm gonna start with just pulling it up here
You're as slow as those
because
dinosaur
I
glasses
closed it
on you.
accidentally. Good one. I'm gonna go with Sveshnikov. Every year we keep thinking he's
It's a 50-goal scorer.
he's gonna turn it up. This is his breakout. This is his breakout. This is his breakout. And in 72 games, 20 goals, 28 assists, 48 points. Not quite the production you expect from a guy with his draft pedigree, I should say. He played 17 minutes a game. The only thing, though, the caveat here is in the first 20 games he played with Aho and Jarvis, he had like 18 points. So, and then he was taken off that line. And the reality here, I think the biggest flaw for Sveshnikov and anybody else on this team is that there's no second line center on this team. So if he's not playing with Aho and Jarvis,
He's playing with KK.
he's playing with KK or Jordan Stahl. And, no disrespect, but it ain't no Aho. So I'd like to see him permanently on that line and see what that gives. But yeah, underachiever for me. Not enough 20 goals and 48 points, even though he did look good in the playoffs.
It's Tyson Forster numbers.
I have a lot of underachievers in this team, and it's very weird
start,
to say
Nick.
that, right? Because I could go the route of Jacob Slavin, only 27 points this year. I could say Dmitry Orlov, only 28 points this year. I could say Brent Burns, 29 points. It's like the shell that was the beard of Brent Burns. It's just... I think these guys all underachieved this year. Gostisbehere was the only one to put up some points, and that was 45 points. Pretty respectable season for him in 70 games played. And then but Kochekov, 897 save percentage. It just felt like it was... I expected more from a 25-year-old goaltender who was touted once as being the future of Carolina. I'm just not impressed with this team from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, well, that has a lot to do with the coach.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
And the system.
Exactly. I think it's more the system, and are they going to keep on going with this system? Not only system, but also this team is built on analytics. It is completely built on their GM is an analytics-driven GM.
How well is that going for Dubas?
But he was supposed to, remember when he got hired, he had all kinds of doctorates and masters. And that's what people are saying. People are saying it's nice to have your analytics, but at the end of the day, you still have to feel the game. You still have to, so
You still need a little bit of eye test.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Players to keep an eye on for this team for
And
next
just
year.
because you wear fake glasses does not make you smarter.
Yeah, exactly. I tried it. It doesn't work. Nick, players to keep an eye on for next
I'm
year.
going to get roasted by Toronto fans. Alexander players to watch?
Yeah, for next
year. I have a few.
Go.
I'm really curious to see if Seth Jarvis could keep up the pace.
Okay.
Because he seemed in his presser at the end of the season to say that he has more levels to give. I'm really curious to see if that's actually true, if it's just talk. And I'm really curious to see Nikishin, because Nikishin was a star in the KHL. And
Captain at 23.
right now, with Brent Burns kind of falling off, and with Slavin
With a lot of those
being more defensive specialists,
they have no offensive defensemen on that team right now.
Gostisbehere is the only one. Scott Morrow is
Scott
potential but he's very, very young as well. I'm really curious to see if Nikishin could take this team by the horns on the defensive side.
Junior?
My eyes are on Kochetkov. I think this is the season where he needs to show if he can hack it. I mean, they signed Anderson to a 1-year extension. He's 36 years old. He's going to be 36 years old next year. at 26 years old, Kochetkov now needs to show that I'm the guy. If he can't show it this year, then I think there's going to be changes in the
goalies usually 25, 26. That's when their coming out party is. So we'll see for him for next year. Pipeline. There is some young players on this team. Who are we looking for that are going to crack the team? And I mean, make a difference in a very offensive, challenging system.
You want me to go first?
Drew, go first.
I mean, there was a lot of talk of Nadeau. I know we had Victor Nuno on. He really likes Nadeau coming up. But my eyes are focused on... Sorry, I want to pronounce his name. I always liked Poirier, but he's really, really small. But really, I'm looking at Artamonov. I had him ranked pretty high in our prospect rankings before last draft. And he's Russian from the KHL, and he's the guy that I want to see develop and see where his game can go when it comes to the NHL.
Yeah, very successful in the KHL as a teenager as well. For me, I was going to stick closer to... I know we spoke about Nadeau, we spoke about Moreau and Nikishin already. I wanted to go with Jaden Perron, but he's much lower on this list, but... he didn't have a great transition to the NCAA, but I still think he has the most upside offensively. He's just a very diminutive forward. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that's going to mesh right now with the Carolina Hurricanes overall scheme, but he has the most upside when it comes to goal scoring. So I really want to see what Jaden Perron could do.
What do you guys think about two young players that cracked the lineup this year? And one cracked the lineup, the other one got through trade. Jackson Blake and Stankoven. Do you think Jackson Blake can keep up what he did this year, which was 15 goals, 15 assists, if I'm not mistaken? And Stankoven, can he go back to? Can he produce like he was producing with the Dallas Stars?
Yeah, go.
Well, I like the fit for Stankoven because he seems to be a very, very fast player, a very good forechecker, and he kind of fits the Rod Brendamore system very well. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're starting to see him move up, getting more time on the top six moving forward. So I kind of like his upside. I think he's going to be better than Jackson Blake in the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing another step next year.
Look, it's just strange because their deployment is not great, right? Jackson Blake, he produced 34 points in 80 games, only playing just under 14 minutes. As Stankoven's averaging 15 minutes of ice time. I think Stankoven can produce. Like Nick said, this is the style of team he belongs in. I just think it's unfair to Stankoven to expect a lot of production because he was traded for Rantanen, right? And in the end, I think if you ask Carolina if they would have traded Nate Chess in a trade for Stankoven, I don't think they would have done it. Mm-hmm. So I think
they got a lot more than that.
No, I know they got a lot more than that.
Stankoven and 2 first-round picks that they got for Nate Cash.
Right. But I'm saying if the idea was to trade Nate Chess away and the idea was to get Stankoven in return.
But they got Stankoven in 2 first-rounders.
Yes, but they didn't want 2 first-rounders. The goal was to get a Rantanen, was to get a superstar, right? So, but no, trust me, they got a really good return. I'm not saying. I just think the expectations are going to be really high from the Carolina fans because of who he was traded for. But he'll prove his worth, I'm sure.
I think we need to find a Kiniacs podcast to have on for Post-Mortem next.
I'm sure we can find one.
Maybe team preview.
A state of the franchise, if they sign Marner or if they don't sign Marner. I love it.
I don't know if we have enough space on that bet board.
According to our bet board, he's not
going to Carolina.
So
okay, so what's the state of the franchise for this team?
I think they need to figure out their second line center. The state of the franchise is get the second line center and who is this team going to be. Yeah. There's a lot of questions heading into the new season, whether it's goaltending, their defense, their second line centers. They have some work to do this offseason.
A lot of good young pieces, right?
Yeah.
A lot of good young pieces are going to be entering next season. So like you said, there's going to be some work to be done for sure. But I really like the way that they got younger really, really fast. And that's from drafting well. They've drafted well for a very long time. They're going to keep they're going to stay relevant for a very long time, I think.
They might take a step back or two before coming back to being relevant, because they need to give those young guys a bit more experience to help them. And if they don't get goaltending, they're doomed.
Oh, that's for sure. Any team.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So now for our guests for the Dallas Stars Post-Mortem, Ryan from StarCastic.
StarCasting Remarks podcast.
StarCasting Remarks podcast.
THPN fellow associate.
So we'll give him the opportunity to basically introduce himself, tell us where to follow, and basically get some insight on the Dallas Stars and the big news that's coming out within the hour of DeBoer and
we
Jason
might have
Robertson.
some breaking news, and he might actually break it. But more than that, I think what's cool is that we're using our THPN contacts right now, and we're going out there and getting real fans that know everything, the ins and outs of this team. They do a post-game show, I believe, and they're in-depth Dallas Stars. So it's great to see somebody like we're going to learn some stuff here.
And all their shows are live, and so it's all raw emotion, which is great radio.
Yeah.
And he's just about ready. So shall we start?
Yes, we should.
Go.
The host of StarCasting Remarks, the official Stars podcast of THPN. From the beautiful state of Texas, Ryan!
Love it. Love the music.
What a walk-up song, I have to admit.
Yeah. Welcome, Ryan. So, for those of you that don't know who the StarCastic podcast is, Junior, why don't you give us a little preview here?
Actually, we'll let Ryan tell us. Tell us all about StarCasting Remarks, where people can listen to you, and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, hey guys. First off, thanks for letting me come on and I guess give a therapy session from the outsider's view. That's kind of what we jokingly refer to every long postseason run, it feels like, for the Stars. But anyways, my name is Ryan, and I do have two brothers. Their names are Chris and James, and there are actually 7 kids in my immediate family. I'm the oldest, and then Chris and James are number 3 and number 4. And we're, hockey nerds in a state that absolutely loves football. So I jokingly refer that I was born in the wrong country or I was born in the wrong portion of the country. So we just enjoy, smack talking each other. And as you can kind of guess based off of the name is we are very sarcastic with each other. And sometimes it gets a little over the top, but that's what makes it interesting, what makes it fun. So the podcast honestly started when the Stars went into the bubble run, right? So we started it right at the beginning of the bubble run. I mean, perfect time to start it. And we were just bored, and we were saying, we're already talking about Stars games and spending 30 minutes on the phone, just just kind of spilling out our feelings and how we feel. Like, why don't we just let everyone else see it too, and we'll just go straight Steve Dangle style, and everyone else can wallow in our tears and everything like that. So,
you took the words right out of my mouth, and that's pretty much how we started as well. We're just they're 2 brothers, and I'm the outsider. But all we do is talk hockey all the time, and like you said, Steve Dangle style. I love his podcast. Inspired me to start one as well. And just talk puck. That's it.
Well, let's talk puck then, guys. Are you ready?
Well, we're doing our post-mortem for Dallas. We've done the one for every team that was eliminated in the playoffs. We're Montreal Canadiens fans, so that episode actually took a lot longer. But I'm very curious to hear what you think about how this playoff run went. How you think that the season went overall, and how is Dallas feeling right now? How are the fans feeling?
It's a strange mix, to be honest with you, and it's more of a feeling that this season was a failure. And I know that seems crazy for a lot of fan bases to kind of think about Western Conference final run is a failure. Yeah. When you've had basically the same core, a good chunk of the same players for 3 years in a row, Knock on wood if you've ever heard that before, right? Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Boy.
It feels like that it was a failure, and for me, I fully, at the very least, expected them to make the Stanley Cup final, and I figured I wasn't necessarily thinking we would win, but that's the goal, right? Is just to get there. Because again, the 2 years previous, we had been in the Western Conference Final, and last year, I honestly thought that was probably our best shot. Last year, this year it wasn't even close, and it was just very frustrating at the end of the playoffs, looking back and being like, we blew it, and I hate going this direction, but I do not want to be the 2010 San Jose Sharks. I do not want to be the 2010 San Jose Sharks. And and that team was ridiculously stacked. I mean, when you've got Brett Burns and Erik Karlsson at some points, and then you've got Joe Thornton. I mean, all the big names that came out of that team, and none of them won a cup. And that worries me more than anything that we're heading down that road. So me being the fanatic that I am, I called for a complete overhaul of this team. I'm just like, and some people are calling me crazy. They're like, this guy's got 80 points, and Pete DeBoer has been, Western Conference Finals 6 out of the last 7 years. I'm like, I appreciate all of that, I really do, but sometimes at some point it's not good enough. It's just not good enough, and that's where at least I stand, and I think I speak for a lot of the fan base that this season was a failure because of that. There are a lot of hurt feelings right now within the Stars fan base about how it ended, and I'm sure you guys will get into it here in a second about how all the stuff that's going on. But that's the general feeling with the Stars fan base right now.
Okay, so I'll jump right into it because we all know what happened between Coach DeBoer and Ottinger at the end of Game 5 there. And, he talks about sample size versus the Edmonton Oilers, which is basically not even 12 games, right? But if you look at DeBoer's career as coach, 2018, 2019 with the Sharks, third-round elimination. 2 consecutive years, third-round elimination, coaching the Vegas Golden Knights, then doesn't make the playoffs in 21-22.
Marc-Andre Fleury, sword behind the back.
Exactly.
That was DeBoer.
Backstabs Marc-Andre Fleury out of all people. And then 3 consecutive years with the Dallas Stars, eliminated in round 3. So you want to talk about sample size. That's sample size for a coach who can't get the job done ultimately. So I found a little bit of a cheap shot to Ottinger, who pretty much, I don't want to say single-handedly, but he was a big part of eliminating Colorado. So what's the fan base thinking here? Are they upset or disappointed with Ottinger's play because he wasn't great, but I don't think he was that bad though? Are they more like pissed off at DeBoer here, or is it a mix of both? Or
it is 99.99% in favor of Ottinger. I can tell you that right now.
Okay,
and then for me, I am too a little bit. It felt like he was throwing him under the bus. He was just like, no one believes in Jake more than I do, and then went into the stats like you just mentioned, right? So it felt like a cheap shot, but exactly. But at the same time, it's not like any of the stuff that he said was untrue, right? He was literally just stating the fact, and sometimes that can be seen as getting stabbed in the back, like that sword is, and again, that sword was re-memed with Ottinger, and now we've seen that online too, but. That's not even the thing that worried me more than anything with this whole Ottinger DeBoer debacle, to be honest with you, because I believe that these guys, in the end of the day, they're pros and then they can get over it, right? I mean, I fully believe that they could get over that. Now, is there always going to be that little twinge from Ottinger, that little disbelief in it? Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what he says or what DeBoer says or anything. It is always going to be there because it happened, and DeBoer can't take that back. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's one reason why, and I'll go into it. I'll save a lot of my rant for other things, but that's why I don't think he needs to be back as coach. I mean, first and foremost is even though that they could get over that and they could win a cup together, they really could. I just don't think that this is the right time for that. I think it's time to move on for me personally. This is like the final needle in the haystack, right? Like this is it. And then go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just I was going to say, I think he only has 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
So if he's going into next year, he's going to be a lame duck coach if he's not getting renewed. So if you are to fire a coach, typically speaking, this offseason would be the time to do it.
Yes.
I think if you go into the season with DeBoer, it could either be, there's no in between. It's either it's going to be really successful and Ottinger's just going to he's going to want to prove him wrong, or it'll be just a complete mess because of all these things you're hearing from the exit meetings that the players weren't too happy how he handled that situation.
But it wasn't only Ottinger that they were not happy about, supposedly. But anyways, maybe like...
Well, look, they've been through it. Remember, was it the owner who came out and said something about Ben and Seguin at the time? He called them out.
It was actually Jim Light, who is I believe he was the CEO or the president at the time, and he called him out 100%. I think that was a long time ago. I think it was pre-COVID, like 2017, 2018. It was a while ago.
I think Nil was still GM at the time as well.
Yes.
So, and he kind of navigated through that pretty well. So,
sorry, we interrupted you before, Ryan. Please continue.
Anyway, this is the thing that worried me more than anything about all of this. This is a veteran coach, right? He is one of the most experienced coaches in the NHL. I think he has the most games coached and the most wins without winning a Stanley Cup, at least as of current, or he's at least up there in the top 3 or something like that. My issue with this is that is your answer. Game 1 or game 5, first period in an elimination game. And that's what you decide to do, is to pull your number 1 goalie. And do I understand the move? Absolutely, 100%. But that's your answer. You don't have any other moves, so that leads me to believe that he doesn't know what to do. And so if he doesn't know what to do to fix this team, then he doesn't need to be the coach of this team. That's the thing that, like, after thinking about it and kind of overthinking it like I do, like a podcaster, that worries me more than anything, is that he doesn't know what to do with this team, including Jake Ottinger.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys were down by 2 goals so quickly in that game.
7 minutes in.
One of the goals was a breakaway, and the other goal was a power play goal. How much of that are you really pinning on Jake? And then you're putting in the backup goalie who hadn't played for 13 weeks.
Yeah.
That's your move.
It's also the way he did it, right? He calls a timeout. He rips into them. Ottinger starts skating back to the net and then calls him back in front of everybody. And that was a bit ruthless. But Vince, did you have something you want to ask?
Yeah, Ryan, I have a question about a player that I feel gets a lot of hate, but not hate, but I mean, he's always one of the players that people say underachieved, which is Jason Robertson. I feel a lot of teams, like obviously on Twitter right now, his name is out there, saying that the Stars are maybe looking to move him. But I'm looking at his stats, and it's like 2021, 2022, 79 points. 2022, 2023, 109 points. 2023, 2024, 80 points. 2024, 2025, 80 points. I mean, did that season of 110 points really put him in a category that he doesn't belong?
I think there is some truth to that, to be honest with you. I think, they talk about having the career years or whatever. Like Hyman had I think like 50 or 60 goals here recently for Edmonton. I think that was just a career year for him. And I think that 80 to 90 point range, I think maybe 80 to 85 is probably better. I think that's what you should expect of him. Okay. That being said, he really doesn't get a whole lot of hate over a long period of time here in Dallas. Like a lot of the time here in Dallas, there's one scapegoat. It seems like, and I'm sure a lot of fan bases are similar with this. This year, it wasn't so much this year as it was last year. And last year, God rest his soul, Ryan Suter, that he was the scapegoat for every single game, and some of it was deserved and some of it was not, right?
Right.
But with Robertson, he is just very hot and cold. He's not super consistent. Like when you think of consistency, I always think of someone like Mark Scheifele in Winnipeg. You can almost like book him for like 80 to 82 points every single year.
Yeah.
And Robertson will get there, 80 to 82 points, but he'll go on a ridiculous stretch where he is outscoring Connor McDavid at points. And then he'll go 15, 20 games without a goal. And he'll just, he'll take a back seat and deposit assists every once in a while and stuff like that. Kind of similar how Rantanen did in the playoffs. Like Rantanen exploded in Game 7 against the Avalanche, and even before then, he was starting to heat up. And then he had another hat trick in Game 1 against Winnipeg, and then it kind of teetered off the hill a little bit, and he didn't really show up much after that. So it's kind of similar in nature, where there's not much hate for Robertson there, and I think you are correct, though, in the fact that he's a little overrated and the expectations are a little too high. Could he get to 100 points again? Absolutely. He's got the ability to do it. It's just, I think a more realistic is about a point per game for Jason Robertson.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for fantasy general managers who are in a dynasty league, I mean, I think that should be the expectation going forward as well. Ryan, I have a question for you. And if I take a look at all these free agents that are coming up, there's a real opportunity here to reshape the roster. What do you think would be first of all, the route you would take, let's say, but also how do you think that they're going to navigate this? Because just to give Duchesne is a UFA. Jamie Benn comes off the books, which actually might be a good thing because that's a lot of money that you're saving. If I'm not mistaken, Dadonov is coming off the books. Granlund, I know you got him late in the year, but he's coming off the books as well. And then there's Maverick Burke, who's an RFA. So what are we thinking here as the direction that Dallas would be going, and what would you do as well?
I know this is not going to answer your question, but the answer is I have no freaking clue. And here's my dilemma and why I say that, because Jim Nill is seen as a very conservative GM. Like he makes sure that he's got his ducks in a row and he's not making an extreme decision that puts his team in cap hell or whatever like that. But here's the thing. The first 7 years of his term, I would agree with you that he would probably go the conservative route and just re-sign the players and expect them to figure it out. So re-sign Duchesne, re-sign Ben, Granlund, if they had cap space, which they don't. But the last 3 years have showed me that he's been willing more to take risks because he thought they were close. And first off, it was the Nils-Lundqvist trade, which I know that seems crazy, but that was the first time that he had ever traded a first-round pick for somebody. So when he did that, that opened the door, and then he did what he did this year at the trade deadline and just blew everybody's mind, including his own fan bases, and saying, where the heck did this Jim Nill come from? Well, it was sort of kind of there with the Nils-Lundqvist trade, and then also trading away Stankoven. That had to have hurt him tremendously to trade basically 3 first-round picks and everything that he gave up, including Stankoven. So I really think that it's going to be up to somebody else too, if I'm being completely honest with you, because Jim Nill has also kind of shown over the last couple of years that he's getting ready to retire, and he is getting up there. He's not quite, Lou Lamoriello age or anything like that, but he is definitely starting to lean that direction. So maybe they're looking inwards, looking at someone else and, someone to take under the wing. And then maybe he'll allow that person to kind of direct the flow. Cause I honestly couldn't tell you, because the history shows, at least recent history shows, he could just go full on and have a chance to completely overhaul the roster like you're talking about. But ancient history says that he'll be more conservative. So I mean, I hope that's a good analysis of all of that there, but there's really not a firm answer. If it was me, I would completely, I want a big change. So I know it seems crazy because he led us in points in the regular season, but I do not want Matt Duchene back. Specifically, okay, yeah, I'll wait for it.
This is perfect. This is exactly the follow-up question I wanted to give you, because here in Montreal, we're dying for a 2C. And there's at least a group of 6 or 7 teams that are looking for a number 2 center.
They're all getting Sam Bennett, by the way.
Last podcast, we copied and pasted Sam Bennett on everybody's lineup because that's everybody's rumor is Sam Bennett. But I want to know your opinion of Matt Duchene. You've seen him up close and personal. He had a point per game this season, but he's probably looking at his next contract. He probably wants around, rumors have it, a long-term deal. So at 34 years old, that's a little bit tough to swallow for some teams, obviously. But what's your thoughts on Matt Duchene, and why is it that you do not want him back?
And it has absolutely nothing to do with that I don't like him as a player or as a person. Like, I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to talk to him, but every time I sit down and talk to him or, ask him a question, he gives you his thoughts. He doesn't do the typical, oh, well, we got to get pucks in deep and go after him and forecheck. And he doesn't do that. He's just like, I sucked it up. This is what we need to do better. And this is the thing that went wrong today. And he gives you a flat out answer, which I think, by the way, he will be a great broadcaster someday if he chooses to go that route. But here's the reason why I don't want him back. And it's because, yes, look at his regular season numbers. He was ridiculous this year, absolutely ridiculous. And probably the best bargain contract in the NHL. There are very few that would be that good. He led his team in scoring, and he was on a $3 million deal. Like that is utterly, utterly ridiculous. Look at the playoffs.
Yeah.
1 goal, and here's the even more crazy stat on top of that. He had 0 5-on-5 points the entire playoffs. Not just one playoff series, the entire playoffs. And we gave him a pass last year because he had never really been deep in a playoff run before. The deepest he had ever gone was 2020 in the bubble run when Columbus, or maybe it was 2019, I can't remember. Whenever the whole thing with the Tampa Bay Lightning, it might have been. So it was either that or in the bubble run. My mind's going fuzzy on the details there, but it was like 1 round, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
So he had never even gone 2 rounds deep, let alone 3, and he did that for the first time last year, and he's 34 now. So I gave him a pass last year, and I was just like, okay, now they lost in the conference final. It's been 2 years in a row. He's gonna figure it out this year. History repeated itself, and it didn't work. So, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that I don't love the guy, and that I don't want to reproduce the points in the offseason because I don't think they're going to find somebody to replace those points. It doesn't matter who they get, but you can't have 0 points in the playoffs when you're expected to, at the very least, get to the Stanley Cup final, if not win the whole dang thing. That's just not acceptable, and especially 2 years in a row. So that's where I'm at, and I hate to say that, but it's just facts. It makes a whole lot of sense. It's just where I think the Stars need to be headed. That Matt Duchene is not a Dallas Star.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing with Duchene is going to be the term, right? He's going to want term, and that's something Dallas is not right now in a position to do, right? So my question is about a new acquisition they got mid-season, which kind of blew up. I mean, everyone was talking about Rantanen. Who is the real Rantanen? Because we've seen him go on like 19 points in like 9 games and then disappear a little bit for 4 or 5 games. So what do you think of Rantanen since Dallas has acquired him? And can he be that 100-point player we're used to seeing, from him in Colorado?
Short answer is TBD, to be determined. Because I mean, look at what the guy's been through. Let's just take hockey away for a second. Like, I mean, imagine you're talking contracts with your current team. You're expecting to be a Colorado Avalanche for the rest of your career, basically. And then they make the trade that they did, and he goes in and he gives Carolina a chance. And I believe him with what he says. And I won't go into details about that whole Carolina and Vigo Rantanen thing, but I think he gave it a shot, and he was just like, I really don't think this is it. So then he came to a third team, and he's one of the top power forwards, top wingers in the NHL. And some people said, "Oh, well, he is a Nathan McKinnon merchant." He's not a Nathan McKinnon merchant. He's
I was one of those, Ryan. I was one of those.
Yeah, like this is a guy that give him an off season or give him some time to acclimate, which he will have plenty of time to acclimate because he will be here for 8 years. Give him some time and let Wyatt Johnston play with him, because Wyatt Johnston, I'm not comparing him to Nathan McKinnon at all. Nathan McKinnon is arguably, my opinion, the best player in the NHL, but very similar in stature and how they go about business. They both have speed. They're both right-handed. They're both very skilled. And with McKinnon and Johnston, if we can get those two guys together and give them some time to build some chemistry, which they didn't really play very much together this year, so that's the even crazier thing out of all of that, then I think he will, going down the road, he will absolutely be that 100-point player. Just my personal opinion.
So Ryan, I'm just going to ask you about two young players on the team. You spoke about one of them, Wyatt Johnston, who had his struggles during this year's playoffs, and Maverick Bourque, who basically came out with high expectations coming from the AHL to the NHL. Now, has Wyatt Johnston solidified himself as the number one centerman in Dallas, and can Maverick Bourque next year take a step forward with all these players, let's say with all these UFAs not coming back?
I'll give you a really short answer, and then I'll explain why. Wyatt Johnston has not been given the opportunity to be even a 1C yet. So mostly with Rope Hintz and with Matt Duchene. Another reason why I think Matt Duchene probably needs to go. You got to give some room to Wyatt Johnston and let him play. For Maverick Bourque, the short answer is he has to. Because with the cap situation that the Stars are in right now, I think it's just above $5 million or around there somewhere.
On Puckpedia, it says they have about $4.955 million.
Oh, look at me! Look at that.
That's a true fan, by the way.
Yes,
that's someone who's prepared. Eh?
He just has to, and if history repeats itself, this will be a very big season for Maverick Bourque next year. Because if you want to talk fantasy here, this would be a deep sleeper in your mid to late rounds that you should probably take a look at, because if you look at the way that he's gone about his career, his first season pro, he very much struggled in the AHL. Yeah, I mean, he severely struggled, and it was just acclimating himself to the game, more of a man's game rather than I don't want to say little boy's game, but just the speed, the phicality, it's just much higher in the AHL even. And then in his second year pro, he was one of the I can't remember if he was AHL rookie MVP or something like that. Rookie of the year, I think, is what he got.
That's when people started noticing him.
Exactly. And then him and Stankoven together just down in Texas in Cedar Park, which is around Austin, kind of in the central part of the state. That's where they played, and they were just going off. Just absolutely ridiculous, both of them. And then this year you kind of saw him really struggle again. And that was to be expected. He was a rookie. There was a lot of expectations on him even this year. A lot of hoping that he would get to that 15, 20 goal plateau, which he didn't quite get there. But if history repeats itself, I think he'll get there, and it'll be a very big season for Maverick Bourque, especially if he gets to play with up in like the middle six or even in on like the second line with Wyatt Johnston or Rantanen or something like that. So that would be somebody, at least from a Stars perspective, that if you want to take a chance on, Maverick Bourque would be a very good choice.
I think we have a couple of questions left, if that's okay with you, if you still have a little bit of time.
Yeah, go for it. I'm good.
All right. So I know you wanted to ask about Heiskanen and Harley.
Yep.
Do you want to do that now? Because my question is more prospect related, so I wanted to continue with the main team first.
As you wish. Okay, let's continue with the main team. So my question was just, in short, Has Thomas Harley become the number one defenseman of the Dallas Stars? And in terms of fantasy relevance, should we be drafting Thomas Harley before drafting Heiskanen next season?
Has he become the number one defenseman? The answer is no.
Okay.
In terms of ice time, no. And is it closer than ever? Absolutely. We were having that conversation, me and my brothers, when Miro was sidelined, and we were like, well, is Harley going to actually be the number one D guy moving forward? It's still possible that Harley could do that, but Miro is just so sound defensively. In terms of fantasy, you absolutely should take Thomas Harley over Miro Heiskanen, in my opinion, because you saw, and this is not a slight at Miro Heiskanen at all. I love the guy. He's one of the best, all around defensemen in the NHL. He can play both sides of the game so well. He can keep up with guys like Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon and stuff like that, which I still don't know how we beat Colorado without him. But and a lot of that goes credit to Thomas Harley a little bit. But just with Harley, he's gonna be given more chances to play on the power play next year, and he was leading the power play. Before Miro got hurt, the Stars power play was not very good. It was struggling. It was like the worst power play at home. It was like below 10%. That's how bad it was. And when everyone was screaming, and all the Stars fans, all of us diehards were like, please try Harley. And then Miro got hurt, and it's like, okay, the coaching staff finally said. So, and as soon as it wasn't immediate, but it was pretty soon after when he took over basically a minute and a half to a minute 45 seconds of the power play time for every power play, that power play started ticking up. And a lot of his points will come on the power play. So in terms of a fantasy draft, you need to draft Harley over Miro, in my opinion, because Miro's numbers have just kind of tanked. He had one season where he got more points than Sergei Zubov. He set the franchise record for points for a defenseman. And then after that, it's just skyrocketed down. So
I used to love Zubov, by the way.
Yeah, Zubov was the best.
I miss Zuby. I've been trying to get him on my podcast
It was
for a while.
Zubov
now.
and Sidor, no? Was that the pairing?
Yep,
Was he
for a
paired
while.
up with Sidor? Yeah.
Yeah, Zuby, and then sometimes even Hatcher too. And then that was
Yes, nasty Hatcher.
Yeah. All right, last question for you for the night.
Sure.
We already spoke a little bit about Maverick Bourque. Is there anybody else coming up from the minors, prospect or young kid, that you would say is the next up for Dallas? Like some help for cap relief purposes, obviously first, but also for fantasy impact, maybe anybody coming up that you know of?
To be honest with you, the Texas Stars are actually still in the AHL playoffs as we speak. So I think they're actually playing right now. I think they were, last I saw it was like 4-3 in game 3 or something like that. But to be honest with you, there's not anybody that is just, sticks out like a sore thumb to me.
Okay.
And that's mostly just because the scouting department of the Stars has done so well over the last couple of years, getting Wyatt Johnston in the first round, and then Stankoven and even Bischel this year. Bischel was a huge revelation for the Stars this year and kind of solidifying that bottom pair.
Yeah.
There's a couple of names, but I would be very surprised to see any of these guys up at the NHL level. Now, it might just happen that it just kind of has to happen because of cap, issues. But
Yeah.
The one that kind of sticks out in my head, if there was one, was Matej Blumel, and I think he had over 40 goals this year. He was an AHL All-Star. He has kind of been pushed down the lineup over the last couple of years. He played up with the Stars, I think 2 years ago or something like that. He might finally be given his chance to make this team because, AHL success does not always translate to NHL, as everyone, very well knows. But if there's anyone that deserves a chance, it would be Matej Blumel. And that's also if he's not, upset at the Stars organization for pushing him so far down, and he doesn't re-sign with the Stars this year. That also has to go into context as well. So long story short, not really someone down in the prospects down there that I would expect to be a good push to make a pick in a fantasy draft or anything like that.
He's got 2 goals today. They're winning 5-2.
Oh, how about that? There we go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Ryan, just because we have to mention him at least once an episode. We have a bet board here where we predict where Mitch Marner will be next year.
Oh my gosh.
Is there any chance he is a Dallas Star when the next season starts?
I don't want to say no, or I want to say no. But if you had told me that Mikko Rantanen was going to be a Dallas Star, I would have laughed in your face. So even if there is a possibility and they trade out Robo, which by the way, that's never going to happen. I'll just flat out say that right now. Even if they trade out Robertson and have enough cap space to sign Mitch Marner is not a player that you really need right now. He may be a superstar, but the thing is you don't need a superstar who doesn't have a ton of playoff experience. And that's why you traded for Rantanen in the first place. And he gave you a little bit of the fruits of his labor with the points. I think he ended with like 22 points, I think, to end the playoffs. But I don't see it. If I had to make a prediction with where he goes, Anaheim really, really intrigues me because that is an up and coming team, in my own opinion, that could use a boost as a superstar. And I think they make the playoffs next year. That's just me personally with the Ducks, that they showed a lot of push this year. I think this is the first season they've been over 500 or very close to 500 in a while. And they've got the cap space for it. And I mean, they've made some moves over the last couple of, especially the last year. They went out and got Trouba, and Radko Gudas is their captain. I love that, and I hate it at the same time. So I mean, Anaheim would be my if I was a betting man, which I'm not very good at betting, but that would be my guess is Anaheim.
Well, we're writing it on the bet board.
Yeah, you're officially on the bet board.
I'm going to finish it up soon. I'm just going to close it out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, this was great.
It's great. You're a fellow of our THPN network, and you're the first guest that we have from THPN on here, because I don't think Victor Nuno is part of THPN anymore.
Oh, no, the Dobber Prospect Report.
No. So we really appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody where they could find you, how to follow you on socials, and let's try to get you some exposure here on this podcast.
Not that you need it.
No, thanks, guys. But we're basically anywhere and everywhere. So, like, at StarCastic is the handle. We're on X. We're on TikTok. We're on the board outside your mom's house. I mean, we're everywhere. It's ridiculous how many different platforms I'm trying to keep up with. It seems like there's a new one every single day. Mm-hmm. But we try to do an episode after every single Stars game. Through the off season, we've got a huge amount of content we're going to be pushing out. We've got the ones that most podcasts do. We're going to do like player grades and stuff like that, and some really big guests. I'm really, really pushing to have Logan Stankoven come back on the show. I don't know how much he wants to come back on, but I'm pushing him a little bit. And then we're also going to continue I don't want to say redo a series, but we're going to continue a series that we did a couple years ago that we call Stars Fan Stories. And we're just going to interview just regular fans who want to come on the podcast and stuff like that, and just hear their stories that come out. And I'm telling you that was one of the most enlightening things I've done as a podcaster, is talking to other fans and just hearing the stories that they come out of, like how they became a fan and why they continue to follow. And there's some really heartwarming stories in there too. So you can check that out on YouTube, and again, just anywhere and everywhere at StarCastic.
Amazing.
Thank you very much again. It's been a pleasure having you on, and hopefully we'll have you on again if there's a big trade happening in Dallas soon.
Oh gosh, I hope not.
Have a good night, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, that was a wonderful interview with Ryan from the StarCasting Remarks podcast, the official Dallas Stars podcast of the Hockey Podcast Network. That was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it was great insights there. So I'm really happy that we got to use some of our contacts in THPN. Thank you very much for introducing us, I guess.
Yeah, it was. It's good, guys. Another episode in the books.
Another
Episode 85 is done,
and the Stanley Cup playoffs start in a couple of days.
and hopefully we have confirmation that we're gonna have a few more guests coming up in the future. So I'm very excited that this is gonna keep rolling now as we're getting the hang of being part of THPN, but also starting the off-season previews a little bit.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, X at Partial Break Pod. Like and subscribe on YouTube.
And follow StarCasting Remarks as well if you can.
You set the gold standard for your business. Your website should do the same. Wix puts you at the helm, so you can enjoy the creative freedom of designing your site just the way you want. Want someone to bounce your ideas off? Talk with AI to create a beautiful site together. Whatever your business, manage it from one place and tie it all together with a personalized domain name. Gear up for success with a brand that says you best. You can do it yourself on Wix.